This meeting is being recorded.
Good day, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rudy Page, and welcome to our first Africa Day Dialogues, and our first for the day, that is. So we've got an interesting day ahead, covering all areas of culture, creativity, collaboration, the metaverse, a great array of music as well on Fresh FM Radio London. So it's going to be an exciting day. So I'm really pleased to open our day of activities. We've got Neil Osborne from IBAWA, and we've got Ketty as well. And Ketty's a South African living in the Reunion Island as well. So we're going to hear much more about that as well. So good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Rudy.
Good morning, Rudy.
Great to see you. Great to see you. So, Neil, I'm going to start with you. We've got limited time, a packed schedule for the day. So, Neil, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get going.
Right. My name's Neil Osborne, as you probably heard already. What is it you want me to say about myself? Basically, I'm the founder of IBAWA. My background is in investment banking, so it's completely unrelated to this. But I am the founder of IBAWA. IBAWA actually is an acronym. It stands for I am because we are. And the idea of the organization is basically to help bring people of African descent or African people together. Because I have many African friends, and I realized that I don't really know much about their cultures, and I don't know anything really about them other than they are my friends. And so I thought this would be a way where, as Africans or people of African descent, we can actually learn about each other, and actually from that, and actually become kind of friends, deepen the friendships between kind of people of African descent and also people that are interested in Africa. And on that friendship then basically increases the trust between people. And then once we have more trust, also that it can actually engender better business relationships going forward. But our core founding principle is basically based on Ubuntu, which is, and that's where the name IBAWA comes from, because it's all about collaboration and co-independence and basically working together. So that's what the IBAWA organization really is for. And it's a member-based organization, yeah.
Okay, so it's a member in itself. Does it make it a cooperative or a collaborative? What type of organization is it?
It's just a regular organization. That I suppose it's kind of like an amalgamation of, if you like, the Toastmasters, and also perhaps what's the other one? It escapes my mind at the moment.
But it's based on collaboration. It's based on collaboration, trust, and cooperation.
Yes. So we get to learn more about each other.
Yeah.
And also
cultural understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. Things like ancient African history. We get to rediscover ourselves, basically. And so one of the ways that the IBAWA organization does that is through things like events, festivals, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, excellent. So what is the actual IBAWA festival about in itself?
It's a celebration it's a celebration on African arts and culture, as well as innovation, from ancient Africa all the way up to present day Africa, as to what people are doing on the continent now. And we always like to pay homage to the great things that were done in the past. Yeah. So because that's where we're firmly rooted in ancient African history, kind of like 15th century and earlier than that.
But hopefully we'll be thinking about the 22nd century as well, given where we are now and where our great grandchildren will be into the 22nd century.
Exactly that. Yes.
Excellent. So what makes the IBAWA festival really different from other festivals that are happening at the moment? So what is its real USP that you want people to remember about it?
I think the main USP would be that we're more centered around edutainment rather than merely entertainment. So in all the entertainment that's going on, we would have, for example, in our inaugural festival, which we'll be having in July, we would have like a session with the griot, they'll be telling us about. I've never had that before. You know, I don't know what a griot is really, so it'll be interesting for me.
Yeah.
And they'll be telling us about ancient African history and how it has influenced things and influences things present day. We also have a chap who's a lecturer in ancient African history. And so it's not going to be kind of all education, but it's a combination of entertainment. There'll be food from different countries as well, and all that. So it's a real kind of collection of all of these things going on, and that's what makes us different.
That sounds great, particularly the griot, being able to go back into the past and really tell you some great stories and the realities of how people lived as well.
Exactly.
I've been to a similar in Jamaica, a Kompong town. Years ago, this is going back 30 years, they had the colonel, and again he could go back and tell you exactly how people were living, you know, 4 centuries before.
Wow.
It's a great skill.
And the idea is that we'll actually pick valuable lessons from that we can actually apply to improve our lives going forward. So that's
yes,
you know,
of course, Sankofa.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look back to go forward, folks.
Indeed.
So who are the target audience for the festival in itself? I mean, you've said broadly, you know, in terms of people of African descent. Who else is it aimed at?
It's actually for anyone who's interested in Africa, anyone who's interested in
Friends of Africa.
Sorry?
Friends of Africa.
Exactly. That's probably the best way of kind of the best expression that encompasses it.
Yes.
Everybody
that's it. Inclusive. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Excellent. So tell us, when and where is the festival being hosted, and where can tickets be purchased? You know, where can people find details online?
Right. The event has been held on the 30th of July. It starts at 4 p.m. and ends at 10, so it's like a good solid 6 hours. It will be held at the Paul Robeson Theatre, which is in the Treaty Centre in Hounslow on the High Street. And the tickets can be purchased online at www.theartscentre.co.uk/tickets. And the tickets have been priced. It's not about making money, it's about getting as many people there as possible. So for a family ticket is £10. For an adult is £5, and concessionary tickets for youngsters or people that are disabled or on benefits is free. So the whole idea is to get people to come there, come and enjoy themselves, learn as well, and have fun. That's really what it's all about. Yes.
Excellent. And of course, I'll just add that the Windrush 75 Communities Anchor will be there.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That'll give people a good sense of the history of the Windrush generations here in the UK. So thanks for that. So no, that's excellent. And if people want to get in contact with you directly, how would they do that?
Yes, they can either go to our Facebook or Instagram sites, and it's at IBAWA with the spelling and then ORG. So IABWA.org. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if for whatever reason you want to contact me directly, then it's neil.osborne@iba.org.
Right. Great. This is a good opportunity now to speak to Ketty, and I think you should do the introductions before I speak with her.
Ketukubonga Njangase, Zulu, born in South Africa, grew up there and got a chance to start traveling a bit, exploring the continent and a bit further as well. I think the interesting, unique bit, I suppose, today is my birthday. Being
Best
born
wishes.
thank you. Being born on the 25th of May
Yeah.
in 1980. Okay, that was That's unladylike of me, indeed.
Of
However,
course,
there's a reason why. The reason why one would reveal that, though, is
Yeah.
because the Organization of the African Union every year has a theme.
That's right.
And so on the year that I'm born, the theme is Open Skies for Africa.
Excellent.
And when you discover that in your teenage years, trying to define yourself, you know, and having an understanding that coming out of apartheid, living on a continent that has the history that it has, there's a lot of weight on that, you know, and a purpose, a sincere purpose.
Absolutely.
And so, and I was saying that my father's big brother was a globetrotter of sorts, and so he had been living in the UK and Scotland, in the Americas as well, and coming. I suppose one could then have a wider view, especially in South Africa, where we were very cooped up and protected. It was fortunate that we had him in the family, allowing us to think outside of the box, and to recognize that there were people with intelligence who had skin just like me, that we needed to connect with, that we had a solidarity with. So I think that is a decent introductory. Yes. I'm a musician as well, yes, and a songwriter.
Yes, in fact, you've got a great tune that we're going to feature called Exemplify. We will feature today and for the rest of the week as part of our Fresh FM's Africa Day. So we have a week of all different tunes, and I was very impressed with your tune Exemplify.
In fact, Rudy, if I may, Exemplify is the name of the album. The song that I've shared is called Kula. Kula is a Zulu word for grow.
Excellent.
Right, and so we, as Africans, we need to grow, because when you grow, I grow.
Okay, I'm glad with that detail, because I did regard it as, there's a term we use, we say there's message in the music.
Right.
And that's one of the songs that we really do like. So our listeners will be hearing more of that over the next few days and months. Very nice song.
Thank you for that.
So let's talk about the matters of identity. So So talk us through that in terms of, because identity is something beyond the perceived color of people's skin, of course.
Indeed.
And it's, so yeah, give us your perspective on identity.
Growing up in South Africa, in the time of the 80s and the 90s, we saw the narrative change. Our grandparents and those who came before them have a way of, when they speak of themselves, they describe themselves as Umzi Onsundu, the house, or the brown house. So the house of the brown people, right? And there were many different ways and pronouns that are used, like Abantu Bendabugo, which is the indigenous people, Abantu Bohlabati, which are the people of the soil. And I've come to understand that it was all inclusive of all our shades, because from the north of Africa all the way down to southern Africa, we come in all different shades. But all those shades are all the soil that looks exactly like that, your color of your skin.
All right, that's really, I've never heard of that before. That's an amazing piece of detail. Never heard of that.
Well, people of the soil, Abantu Bendabugo Shabat, yes. And the other one that, yes, I've spoken about, that Umzi Onsundu. And so it was quite an adjustment. And I saw the older people battle a bit with, then we had the Black Panther movement, the Black Power. We had Steve Biko with Black Consciousness. When you dig in Steve Biko's work as well, you recognize that he was speaking of a state, of a situation that we were in. You know, we had to be conscious of that. We have been what is the word, cut to black in the production world.
Yeah.
And so in the world, we have been put in this darkness, in the conditioning that we were in. But we've identified ourselves as black, you know, and it's contention, and I'm happy to have these discussions, definitely. But because it has really gone extensively and we've owned it, you know. But in my language, ubumnyama, which is black, the color, but ubumnyama is darkness.
Yes.
You know, isnyama is like a curse. You know, it's a state of things. So when you declare yourself that, you know, and wear it even without the oppressor imposing it on yourself, on you, there's contention, you know. So that we need to tackle that one.
That's a complex. It is a complex one, because of course, then there's a time where we use the term that black may tell somebody what you look like, but not who you are, or necessarily your land of origin.
But you don't look black, Rudy. You don't look black. Black is the hair. You know, the skin is not.
Exactly. So it's again, and you're right. In the end, it goes down to what you think of yourself and your culture and who you are and your understanding where you are in the world and what that really means. And of course, that's an ongoing dialogue. That's an
for sure. But we must look where it turned, because the narrative did shift.
Yes, and I understand the historical context that you're speaking of as well, at least of recent times. Yes, so Ubuntu, from your perspective, talk us through.
I'm very excited to have encountered Neil Osborne and his vision with IBAWA, wanting to really dig deep beyond what is on the surface. You know, when we think of history, it's like 1652 when the white man arrived in South Africa, as an example, you know. But he's like saying, no, well, we were people before that, you know, when we existed on the continent.
A few thousand years, actually.
Oh, yeah. So let's go and open up those textbooks and or create them that tell of that story. Ubuntu in the dictionary's definition we're talking about is a quality that includes essential human virtues, right? So compassion, humanity. For me, in my journey, I've seen Ubuntu in the context of collaboration. Traveling across even leaving my town into Johannesburg from my little town, getting there and having an idea that then people come and collaborate to then bring it to fruition, to actualizing it. That is having some level of compassion. We've seen when the apartheid situation really got aggressive and our brothers had to leave, or our sisters had to leave into Tanzania, into Zambia, into Ghana, into Botswana. There was a lot of Ubuntu there with an understanding of the situation, treating you with integrity, mutual respect, and a level of dignity, as opposed to treating you like a victim, you know. And so these are qualities that we need to when we realign ourselves with, when we look at the challenges that we find ourselves. I use the South African context because also there's just so much happening there, right? We have xenophobia or Afrophobia, in fact, that comes from a large level of ignorance. I'm being very careful. I don't want to that's hard.
Which is a challenge, but of course today we're focusing on celebration. So we're probably a topic for another day.
No, for sure, for sure. But the positive is that we need this portion of Ubuntu, this DAO, to be thrown into our spaces as much as possible, so that we can change the pH levels and have a more meaningful engagement as a continent.
Absolutely. So we need more IBAs around the globe.
Yes,
Neil.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We must franchise once it's crystallize it.
Exactly. and that's how it's
Yes.
done. You know, it's been done for thousands of years. So we can't invent anything new. We can certainly learn from what has been done before. You know?
Indeed.
Right.
And on that note, if I can quickly jump in, Rudy, we have such a great history. Even I, with all that I know, even though I'm not a specialist in that field, there is so much that we simply do not know. And IBA gives us the chance where we'd be able to host people that are much more knowledgeable to share that knowledge with us, so that we get to know ourselves better, and we can also interrelate with other people in a much more compassionate, humanistic way, without kind of carrying too much, whatever anger or whatever it is from the past. We have a lot to be proud of, and that's really what IBA is really trying to bring us together. When I say us, it's all inclusive. It doesn't have to be just African people. And we can learn from the past. Really great stuff has happened in the past that we can celebrate.
Absolutely, and that's why we're interested in it, because what we say is that respect and inclusion is the common ground for all of us, regardless of our background and status. And that's how we look at things. And then in terms of where we live, we talk about all our activities are designed to promote inclusive, peaceful, caring, and enterprising local communities and neighborhoods, wherever we live on this globe. We'll live in a neighborhood, and we will have our local communities, and we want to live in peace and harmony and care for those who are more vulnerable than ourselves. So it's a very simple concept, really.
I think it makes for a much more compassionate world, a much better world, if we all actually apply the philosophy of Ubuntu. I see you and I recognize myself in you.
Exactly. And if you're looking at how you take care of your families and your neighborhoods, and people who live in isolation, and we all say, the best outcomes for any of us is to be treated with love, compassion, and with humanity.
Right.
Simple.
Right.
Simple.
Well, simple, but in the practical world.
Absolutely. There's some challenges. There's some challenges. But I think that in the end, that's what has to happen for harmony.
Absolutely, yes. I have no doubt at all. Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
And it benefits everyone on planet Earth. To see that we're all interconnected, all connected and interdependent.
Absolutely. And there's an old African saying, harmony is the foundation of all institutions. It's an African saying, and the institutions are just groups of people. At the end of the day, individuals.
Yeah.
So right, we're going to go on to our final topic, Campaign Africa. Tell us more, Ketty. What is it? How can people get involved? What are what's the mission, etc.
Right. Okay, so I run a company called the Elevators Creative Concepts, and we are in partnership with Africa Global Radio out in Ghana. I've approached them with a concept called Campaign Africa. That is three things in the main: an annual production series that's focusing on programming around Africa Month. That stems from the need for activity today we should be synchronized doing something as a continent. That is it is necessary for this cohesion to actually have at least 24 days, 24 hours minimum, where we have stopped and we are just we are all in this one current, you know. So we're working towards
work in progress, we call it here.
Yes.
So don't worry, it's work in progress.
Then the second element of Campaign Africa is it's a collaborative enterprise that is established to effect the revival of the Africa tour circuit. As a musician traveling across the continent, we're learning the challenges and attitudes that need to be enhanced to enable for a better way of movement around the continent. So these cross-cultural exchange programs, but also we know what it does to the ecosystem when there are a festival or exhibitions and things like this. It sparks great economic activity in that community, and so we need to be able to create the circuit that's going to generate. And when once you've hit a place, the idea is that you've created the network on the ground, that even if next year you're doing it somewhere else, there's still a continuation.
Absolutely.
Right.
I understand it. I think it's excellent. That's why we want to partner. We want to be involved. As I said, Fresh FM Radio London, making connections work, our diaspora affairs and development work that we're doing. And what I think is great about it is, in terms of what you said, is that there's a saying that we used to say, I'm going back 40 years ago now, says how long. We used to say, in a competitive market, and if you think that's where we all live, in a competitive market,
right,
culture and commerce are inseparable. So one of the great learnings still for us in when we talk about the 21st century skills, which are collaboration, creativity, communication, critical thinking, is to actually understand that commerce follows culture.
There we go.
You know, and so if we get that combination,
and art informs history.
Absolutely, it reflects knowledge and what's passed on down through the ages and carries on. So we're getting into the spirituality now.
Meta.
No,
and I'm glad you said meta, because the metaverse is one of the key topics for our discussion this evening. So we'll be looking at cultural collaboration and creativity across the metaverse. And it's important that we take these types of ideas into the metaverse, because at the end of the day, it's still about relationships, collaboration, trust, and cooperation.
Right, true that.
Yeah, and it's not new. It was done thousands of years ago. This is the most important thing that people have to understand. Otherwise, the pyramids and the obelisks would never have been built.
There we go.
And the other great temples and buildings.
Yeah. Once forgotten, now new.
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's quite profound, yes.
No, so in terms of people getting more information then about Campaign Africa, if they want to get involved?
Right. We are also creating a social a directory for social enterprises, right? So I'm saying that in reaching out to people who are working in community projects and in need of some level of a spotlight on them, or having the cultural and creative industry coming around to donate some of their time in helping them raise their funds. I'm available on KHETHI at campaignafrica.org. Do visit us on campaignafrica.org. We've actually been working rather hard to get ourselves in a state of readiness, and today we are happy to openly invite people to come through, and just to maybe have a look at what we've been working on as a pilot, because we are also in our inaugural stages at this point. We are in our research and development phase, and we had to get ourselves here to then start engaging Fresh Radio London. How do we partner, and other stakeholders to work it out. We have said to them that to the build up to their July festival, we look forward to putting up their posters and having some dialogue about what is happening. But we are also very keen to find out about the content of what will transpire during that festival, and be able to showcase it, because it is such rich knowledge that we are hoping is going to be imparted in that space.
Yeah, excellent. And again, today is about the creative arts and cultural collaboration. There are two driving themes that's really woven through all the dialogues for the rest of the day. So I'm really pleased that this has been the first one. And I'm actually going to give Neil the opportunity to have the last word before we close this.
Right. Thanks very much, Rudy. Actually, whilst you were speaking, I remembered, because I remembered that I'd forgotten which organization I was going to use to explain how IBAWA works. It's actually kind of almost like a combination of the Toastmasters and the Rotary Club, in that we would be doing things, as indeed Katie mentioned, for example, possibly fundraising to go and help people, who may not have the resources to actually fund something, but may have the skills to actually go and help.
It's like a service club.
Exactly.
So people around the world, they would know of Kiwanis, they would know of Lions clubs as well, Rotary. They're all kind of professionals who pool their resources, and they focus on some areas of support for their local communities or around the world.
Yes, but the key thing being that it's all centered around Ubuntu. So everything that we do has got to take that philosophy into account, in that with no exploitative operations or anything like that, and we always take the human as well as nature into consideration. And people also learn. It's very African centered. We will not shy away from that. It's very African centered. In that we always try to look back into the past and actually learn from lessons of the great civilizations, what they got right, and actually extend that into modern day. And actually, so we're going to be very African focused, but it's very open to everyone. And we want to help bring the various communities in the world to actually understand each other better, but starting from an African-centric point of view, underpinned by the Ubuntu philosophy. That's probably the best way of explaining it.
Yeah. Excellent. You've done it in one sentence.
In the end.
Great. So thank you very much, and take care, and see you all again soon. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.